what is fixed income? Okay, now when you buy a fixed income security, it's often the case where it can be illustrated in this diagram. Okay, on the start date, okay, you pay out a lump sum of money, right, called the principal. Okay, you pay out this lump sum of money, and there'll be an expiring date to that security. We call it maturity date, where you get back the lump sum of money, where you get back. Okay, so up arrow represents a cash in, and a down arrow represents a cash out. And in between periodic periods, okay, let's say for example we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 periods. Okay, you get regular or fixed returns. Okay, regular or fixed returns in every period. Okay, so this is fixed return, fixed return, fixed return, and at the maturity date you get back the principal. So fixed income typically works like that. Okay, you might also be borrowing money, and where in this case you would get the cash into your hands at the start date when you borrow the money, and at the end of the borrowing term you would have to repay the amount borrowed, and in between periods you might have to pay interest. Okay, so in this case it's also fixed income, but you are like the issuer of the fixed income, you are the borrower. So often we call the issuer of the fixed income the borrower as well. Now for companies who do this, right, now we're talking from individuals to companies. Now for companies who do this, who issue this fixed income debt, okay, and they are the borrowers, okay, we call this security bonds. Okay, remember that companies, they can raise capital via issuing shares, right, and which we call this money equity, and they can also issue money by borrowing, which we call debt. So a form of borrowing money by companies are where they issue these bonds, okay, to investors who lend them money. Okay, so in this case the bond, or which we call the debt security, is actually a claim. Okay, it's a claim by the issuer, alright, or by the company which issues the bonds, okay, to pay back the bondholder, okay, the amount borrowed. Okay, we call the amount borrowed the principal. Okay, the amount borrowed, as well as periodic interest, which we call coupons. Okay, so in our timeline over here, okay, we have the maturity date and the starting date which the company borrows, okay, and at the maturity the company will return it, and also at regular intervals the company will pay out coupons, or which we call periodic interest, to the lender, or lender in this case would be the holder of the fixed security. Okay, so bonds in general, they are issued for fixed maturity of longer than 1 year. Okay, typically between 2 to more than 10 years. Okay, you have things like 20-year bond and 30-year bond. So in terms of risk, okay, bonds, okay, they would have typically lower risk, okay, lower risk than equities. Okay, why is that? Because bonds, by the contract, okay, the borrower or the issuer is committed to pay back the interest payments and the maturity, whereas for equity, Okay, the company who issues the equity has no such duty to do so. So from a risk management perspective, we view bonds as less risky than equities. Okay, if we were to draw a graph where we have the risk from low to high, and where we have the return, okay, the expected return, where it's high here and low here. Okay, we would have shares being the most risky and hence would have the most highest potential return, and we would have our bonds or fixed income over here. Okay, and of course we would have our savings account or our cash or government securities and probably real estate over here. We can draw the return to risk graph like this, right, where this is stocks, this is real estate. Okay, so this one would be more for aggressive investors, and over here it becomes more conservative. Okay, you learn more of this in our wealth management subject called WEM, wealth management.